basically a before and after. How's it going, my soft friends? My name is Gary and this is my channel, Weakest of Weeks. If you're a first time viewer, I appreciate you clicking on the video and definitely consider subscribing. I have a ton of how-to stuff out there, and especially sound-related videos. So I am in the middle of a whole host of upgrades. I am upgrading to DO88 intercooler piping. I'm upgrading a DIY-friendly and cost-effective way to upgrade your intercooler. So while I have the bumper off, it only makes sense to restore my headlights yet again. So roughly a year or so ago, I did a video about replacing a xenon headlight in this car as well as refurbishing the headlights. I used a cheap 3M kit and it worked out great. At that time, I posed the question of how to protect the headlights, because the car normally sits out in the sun. It's not a garage queen. It does get daily driven, so it sits there and bakes in the sun. So unfortunately, it was only a matter of time before the headlights faded over again. So what I came up with was this clear coat by Eastwood. It's a 2-component system. So you break this piece at the bottom after mixing it or shaking it very well, and you shake it again for another like 2 minutes. And this should be the most durable way to protect your headlights. I thought about going the standard Krylon or Rust-Oleum clear coat. However, after doing some research, this by far is the #1 option that I found for clear coating your headlights. So let's go ahead and restore these headlights and use this new clear coat. I'm not going to go into super great depth about how to do this because, like I mentioned, I did already do a video on this, so I'm just going to breeze over this real quick. And the most important part is, after the restoration, is the clear coat. So hopefully this video will be nice and short. Started to make a mess, so I put a towel over top of everything in the engine bay, but this headlight right here is the one that's fully sanded. I'm letting it dry. Notice how it's still kind of frosted over. Well, at this point, you weren't clear coating it. Normally you would use the polish that comes in the kit and you would polish that shine back in. On this headlight right here, I just sanded everything down, so all I have to do is wipe off all this crud, and you'll see with the water on it, it will kind of simulate what this headlight should in theory look like with clear coat on it. It should have that glossy finish to it. This headlight over here is the one that is pretty much the same exact step as that. However, this is dry, this is wet. Fingers crossed that once we shoot the clear on it, the headlights will look like this when they're done. Here's the setup. I have a table, the cloth over top of it. If you're wondering about the blocks of wood, not only does it support the headlights how I want to have them painted, but also I have any excess cloth tucked up in there that way in case the wind blows, it's not going to fall onto the freshly cleared headlights. So they've been sitting out here for roughly 30 minutes in the beating hot sun, so they should be more than dry. You notice I actually taped up some of the top that you will see once the headlights are mounted back in the vehicle. I mean, you can obviously clear coat over top of it, but it's kind of dirty, so I don't want to clear coat a bunch of dirt in there. My main goal is to make the lenses all shiny and new. So with that, I have the clear coat, like I said at the beginning of the video, this Eastwood 2-part can. I'll have to shake this for 2 minutes according to the directions. Take out this red cap, flip it upside down, take this and push into this tab, and then shake it for another 2 minutes, and then we're good to spray. So it calls for a respirator. I don't have a respirator. I do have an N95 mask, so that's what I'll be rocking for now. I'll give it a couple coats of paint, sit out here in the beating hot sun, and fingers crossed this turns out really well. Here goes nothing. very hot out here. First coat is done. We'll let it bake in the sun, and then we'll hit it with coat 2, which will be a little bit thicker. And coat number 2 done. Time for the third and final coat. Look how amazing these turned out. So they're not 100% perfect by any means, but they are a heck of a lot better than what it was before, all hazed and yellowed over. I'm very impressed with that clear coat by Eastwood. So now I just need to toss these headlights back on the vehicle. Up close, they look very good, nice and glossy. I mean, this is basically a before and after. So here's the finalized product with the car officially all back together. This is definitely not movie magic or any editing whatsoever, but the headlights look like they would have been like this from the factory when this car was made. So it's quite an impressive feat to go from those yellow, hazy headlights to now a beautiful restored headlight that looked like it came like that from the factory. So huge shout out to Eastwood. They didn't sponsor me by any way. However, I did do a bunch of research and this is what I came up with. It is much more expensive than, say, any clear coat that you find in a typical box store. However, it's well worth the investment, and I'll link it in the description if you're interested in purchasing this. One point of mention with this can is that it's only good for 48 hours. I did write on the side of the can 48 hours from the time I shook and cracked this thing open, because it will no longer be usable at that point. So there's plenty left in this can. In hindsight, I should have done the fog light restoration while I had the bumper off, but I didn't think of it until I installed everything back on there. So I may pull this bumper off again and do the fog lights. Realistically, probably not, but that's just something to consider if you're restoring your headlights and you have to pull the bumper off anyways and you're clear coating. Definitely consider doing the fog lights. Shocker, but my OCD forced me to restore the fog lights. So this one I have taped off. Obviously, as you can see, I'm attempting to restore them while on the vehicle. I hand sanded them using the same sort of method I did for the headlights, just minus the drill. This one is all taped up, ready to spray, ready for its first coat. This one is masked up, but I already put one coat on it. It's looking pretty solid, so I intend to do 3 coats, just like I did on the headlights. Look how crystal clear the headlights and fog lights are now on my laser red Arrow. And if you're wondering as far as coverage from one single can of paint, I was able to do 3 coats on each of these headlights, 3 coats on each of the fog lights on this car. There was paint left over to restore the headlights on my project car. 3 coats on each of these headlights. I opted not to do the fog lights because they're actually in decent shape. And even after all that, there was still paint left over to hit 2 thick coats on this metal water jet cut Griffin sign that I painted and now clear coated that a subscriber gave to me a while ago. But if you're in the market to restore your headlights on your Saab or any vehicle for that matter, definitely give Eastwood a shot. This 2K Aero Spray clear coat goes an extremely long way and it's worth every penny. With that being said, I'll end the video here. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop a comment down below. Like I said, I'll have links for this can of paint in the description. and certainly consider subscribing because I have a ton of videos out there, and especially side-related videos. So, my friends, I will catch you on the next one.